Welcome back to another edition of RXMuscle Spotlight. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest, you might not know him. You will at the end of this interview. He was a good friend of Chris Aceto's back in the day. He knew Joe Weider, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ed Connors, and pretty much everyone in the bodybuilding industry. He's all the way up in Maine, hiding out with Chris Aceto up there, but his name, Skip Robinson, might ring a bell. Welcome to the show. What's up?
How you doing? How did you find me up here, did you say?
Chris Aceto's been stalking you since he's in junior high school, he told me. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. When I ran the Mr. and Miss Maine contest with Marty Joyce, a powerlifting champion, he used to sell T-shirts for me. And,
how old is
he? He was too young to get into the university gym, which I was running at the time.
That's funny.
And I taught school, but in my side hustle was I ran the university gym.
Okay.
I used to get there 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:45.
Yeah.
And you'd open it up, and I'd stay there till it was time to go to school. I'd go to school and then teach and come back and stay till like 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And,
you were dedicated.
Oh,
Chris told me they used to wake up at 4 a.m, but the buses didn't run that early. And like my parents, his parents never would have gotten up that early and driven him to the gym. So he would walk all the way to the gym to train with you. And then he would take the bus home by 7:30 to catch his bus to school.
This is true. The director of the university, who is my boss, he'd come in and he'd say he heard something about Chris training there, and he said, how old is he? And I said, he's old enough. I said, he showed me an ID. He had an older brother, Rocco, that was a swimmer. He was a good swimmer. He was rated one of the better ones in the state. But anyway, his mother, God bless her, somehow got Rocco's ID and forged it for Chris. And so if I ever got caught, all I'd have to do is say, here's the ID.
Right.
And so that's how he got in there. And like I was telling you earlier, Chris has always had a great work ethic. And, back to the contest that I used to run, he used to sell T-shirts for me. And then one time we had a Mr. Old Orchard Beach in 1981. And he had this bike with a ice cream, a freezer on the front of it. And he used to sell ice creams and things.
He was an entrepreneur, yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but he used to get up early, and he trained. And there was this other. There was three of us: Matt Small, him, and I. And as you know, you've seen pictures of him. He really he did well.
You got a good physique too. There's a good picture of you. And actually, that picture, according to your Instagram, was taken by our good friend Ed Connors.
Yes.
I actually heard a rumor that you were the first house guest officially of Ed Connors of all time.
Well, I asked Ed, and he said it was Pete Grimkowski.
Oh, all right. I thought it was you.
But then he mentioned where Pete Grimkowski stayed with him. And I was at a place before that, so I don't. Ed's probably listening to this anyway. All I know is I was one of the first. Now, and I'll tell you, without him, I wouldn't have had what little success I had in the bodybuilding if it hadn't been for him.
How did you meet Ed?
I had won the prestigious Mr. Maine after about the third try. The first try, I had no idea that I was even going to enter the contest. And I rode down with a friend of mine, and he said, "You ought to enter." He says, "You've been lifting, you got good arms." So imagine, no preparation, no anything. He gave me I didn't even know how to pose. And there were 5 contestants, and I come in 7th. The 6th one was the custodian. But after that, I said, I liked it, and I think it took me 2 more tries, and then I won it. And so back to Ed. I went down. There was a powerlifting contest at the Boston YMCA, and I was powerlifting at the time. It seemed like when you were in the AAU, there was my beautiful wife. You powerlifted, and it was always the powerlifting contest. Those were the days. That picture there was taken by Doug White. Do you remember anything about him?
Before my time too.
Yeah, he was an AAU photographer. He come up, and the poor guy. I had a Jeep, and it was. I took him out to the beach that day, and he ended up getting sunstroke and all that. But that's another story. Back to Boston, years before that. I entered the powerlifting contest and won my class. And then after, it was about 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock, they had the Mr. Boston YMCA contest.
Right.
So you walk out and they have this black backdrop with one little spotlight on the top. So I went in and I ended up getting second place. There was I think there was only one class, and the winner was Captain Bruce Lyons in the Marines.
Okay.
And after the contest, I was getting ready to go, and Ed walked up to me and he said, "You didn't win the contest, but he said you have the most potential." And he said, "You should think about going out to California."
What was Ed doing at the contest? That's a better story.
Ed at the time was an architectural photographer, and he was living in New Haven, Connecticut.
Okay.
And why he was at that particular contest, I have no idea, but I'm sure glad he was. And,
it's crazy how meaningful coincidences in life, right?
Oh yeah, was it ever? But anyway, I can't remember whether I met him in New York, California, whatever, but I think it was New York. But anyway, when I got out there, he picked me up in his car, and I can remember going on that freeway and seeing the signs, Santa Monica, signs, and I thought, David, honestly, guys like you and stuff like that, I thought it was fake photography. I did. I said, nobody can be that big. And we went out there. We got there. I think it was around 10 or 11 o'clock. Place was closed. So the next day, I can't remember if Ed and I went there together. I probably did. And the first bodybuilder I met, I went in you go in the back door, not the front door on Pacific Avenue, but the front door, the front of the building was all glass.
Oh, and so you went to the one on Pacific. Wow, that's the first location, right?
Oh yeah. In
Gold Gym.
Yeah. So I went in the back door and I walk in, and the sun was just about coming up, and the glaze of the sun is coming through the window. And I see this guy coming at me with a headband on and long blonde hair. And I go, Jesus, I was having a religious epiphany. You know?
Who was it, Dave?
Dave Draper.
Dave Draper,
yeah. And I said, Dave, what time's Arnold come in? And around 9 o'clock. But anyway, Dave was good. I worked out with him a couple of times.
How'd you meet Arnold?
The minute he walked in that gym, I walked right up to him.
Oh, you were right there. Okay.
Yeah. And he said, I asked, he says, where are you from or something? And I told him Maine. And he says, that up near Boston? He says, I've been to Boston, but never, to Maine. Since then, he's been to Maine. But
yeah, sure.
It was that was upstairs in the locker room. And I asked him to help me with my posing. And so he had me do a couple of poses, something like that. And he looked at me, he says, Jesus, he says, what are you, paralyzed or what? And I go, what do you mean? He says, you're not flexing your legs, So
Arnold was always insulting people at the same time, right?
I was lucky. He was always good to me. I had an opportunity to train with him, on a few occasions.
Right.
That was during the Pump and Iron in before.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly when the Pump and Iron movie. What year was that? Do you know offhand?
I guess 75, maybe around there.
Yeah, I think I'd been out there the year before too, and Ed brought me out there a few times. And when I was training there, Joe Weider would come in, and this is a good story. That picture you saw of me earlier on the when Ed took the picture and stuff. I wanted to be a lifeguard, and at the time I was working at the main youth center where that black and white photo was taken.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, there was we had a swimming pool there, and for the kids to use. So I used to love going down to Old Orchard Beach. Me and this other biker friend of mine, a Hell's Angel, but we'll go down that. That's another story. I went up to him and I said to him, I want to be a lifeguard. And he said, well, can you swim like 2 miles? And swim the 2 miles is a biggie for for a lifeguard. And I said, I don't know. And I said, he said, well, jump in the pool and swim as many laps as you can, and then add one every day. So I said, okay. So I jump in the pool, and Jesus, I make about 1.5 laps.
Yeah.
And I was exhausted when I get out. And I said to myself, how the next day am I going to do another lap? But I did. And if you're a swimmer or not, if you relax and stuff, practice, you can swim almost all day long. So I knew up in Maine, the test was going to be in May, and the water up here is cold. So, yeah. So what I did is I put ice cubes in my bathtub. and I stuffed it out for a while. And this was, I want to say in February. And the test I knew was going to be the end of April. But I was teaching school. So I went out to California. Oh.
You guys have cold weather up there, that's for sure.
Oh, you dug deep for that one right there. That was every year on Instagram and stuff. I'll tell the perils of shoveling and how your veins constrict and your heart pump. But anyway,
I used to do that too, and then I decided I was going to move to Florida to get rid of that problem.
So anyway, April I go out to California, and that's my daughter. She's beautiful. So she's a nurse practitioner.
Awesome.
And that's what I had hair. God, I miss that. I miss the hair more than
I was going to say you had some head of hair too. Holy mackerel!
Oh.
You lost that beautiful head of hair, huh?
David, I was the first outlaw biker to use hairspray. Now,
were you really an outlaw biker?
I was.
What were you in? What motorcycle club were you in?
The Iron Husband Motorcycle Club. Now, do you want me to tell you that story? I mean, it's
sure.
Yeah. So if you remember that picture of Arnold and I had Martin's Health Club shirt on, the red one with the yellow. Well, Al Martin was a locksmith, and he had a great business going. He would go out to the various suburbs and get duplicate keys to where he'd be working and things like whether it was a business or, anyway. But sometimes the people would be missing things. So I don't know if that's, if he had anything to do with that or not. But anyway, he had one of the first health club of one of the early ones in 70, I want to say it was 70, probably 69, 70.
Right.
And he had the locksmith shop. Then as you go upstairs, he had the gym. And then above that was where the Iron Horseman met.
Okay.
Now, every motorcycle club starts off, just a bunch of guys want to party and, ride and things like that. So we had to come up with a name. So Al, now this is before computers and 69, and anything like that.
Yeah.
So Al liked horses, and he also liked trains. So we come up with the Iron Horseman. Now, I was the fifth founding member. I thought it was seven, but then somebody the other showed me where my ID card had number 5, but it doesn't matter. So I decided I was going to make the colors for the back.
Right.
So the upper rocker, Iron Horseman, and then this nice, it was a horse's head on like train, the wheels of a train.
Gotcha.
And my friend who came from California that told me about the hairspray, and that's another story, that he was a Hell's Angel, and he come back from Southern California. He had the colors on and all that. And I says, I like the wing. So I added a wing to the back of this.
Okay.
Oh, big mistake. So they didn't, trademark it back then.
Right.
But
they didn't like it probably. I'm sure.
No. So what happened was we went to Laconia. Big, if you're back.
New Hampshire. Yep.
Yeah. So I had to stay back and work. It wasn't mandatory back then, but the guys went. And two of them, the president and our sergeant of arms, went down early in the morning down to Weirs Beach to get something to eat or something like that. And the Hells Angels saw these two guys with.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So they took them back to their camp, and they weren't very nice to them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they gave them LSD, everything, And they said, well, maybe that would have been good. I don't know,
Yeah.
But came back with bruises and stuff. And if there are any Hells Angels listening to this, love you guys. But anyway,
one of my good best friends, Mel Chancey, was the president.
I know. I've never met him, but Ed's told me about him, and I've seen him on YouTube. I know. I hear he is. So
yeah.
Love you.
All right, so tell me the Joe Weider story, because Joe, I from what Chris told me, you were one of the first guys to have a contract with Joe Weider. How did that happen?
So this is April. I go out to Ed. I think brought me out that time too, and I go out there.
By the way, before you tell the Joe Weider story, I love this picture of you and Casey Viator, because you actually look better than him in this picture. I'm sure it's just because you have a better standing relax than him, but you got to love this picture, because Casey was,
Oh,
was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. What you don't know is when Casey was there, he had he brought a mirror out with him. He wanted to pose in front of the mirror, and we. That's another story. But anyway, and thank you for the compliment. Casey was great. Rest in peace, Casey.
Yeah.
So I go out, and Joe comes into the gym.
Yeah.
And I went up to him, and I said, Joe, I said, Paul Grant was working out there at the time, working out in the gym, and he was working in Joe's delivering his equipment and things like that. Okay. And I said, Joe, I'd like to work, come out here and work for you. And he says, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'll work in your warehouse. That's what it was. And he goes, no, he says, you can't. He says, you lose size. He says, how about just coming out here and I'll pay you $100 a week for, I was going to be out there for, I think 11 weeks, was on vacation or something like that.
Right.
So, back in that time, $100
a lot of money.
It was better than I was making in school teaching. So
that's crazy, isn't that?
So I says, well, what do I have to do? He said, work out, go to the beach, and then come out to Woodland Hills every Monday and talk to Rick Wayne and, tell him how you built your arms, something like that. So I did that, and it was pretty it was pretty cool,
But why do you think Joe took such a liking to you? I mean, because there was obviously a lot of big bodybuilders out there. What was it about you? Did he like your look? I mean, what do you think you were marketable?
Well, Joe's always about the money, you know that. So When I won the best poser at the 1977 Mr. America or whatever, it wasn't Mr. America back then. There was American Bodybuilding, whatever. But Robbie Robinson was in it. Roger Khaled. Anyway, when I went out to pose, Joe was out in the audience with Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields, Dom DeLuise. Wow. No, they're all right there. It was at the Shrine Auditorium in LA. So when I went out there to pose, Russ Werner's daughter, she was like 18 or 19, was there with Russ, who was one of Joe's photographers. And when I walked out on stage, she goes, he looks like a young Paul Newman. No, Robert Redford. Okay. And so the minute after that show was, he come right out back. He says, Skip, he says, get your Screen Actors Guild card. Right. And, I was teaching school. I had one son at the time. And I just bought a house. And, that was one of the reasons I didn't, stay out there. And Frank Zane and his wife, Christine, tried to get me a job teaching out there. Wow. And it's a good thing I didn't, because I was down. It was between me and this lady for this science position. And she knew more about computers than I did. They had just come out. Right. And so anyway, I didn't get the position. But the next year they had that proposition. I can't remember what it was, but they laid all those new teachers off. You would have been screwed. Yeah. Teaching 34 years here in Maine. Wow. So
congratulations. What did you teach?
Science. Okay. Some little. Here's the deal. Frank Zane was my idol. Okay. Yeah. He taught science and math, right. So I taught science. And he was off summers. I was off summers. Right. His wife's name was Christine. My first wife's name was Christine. Oh my God, that's funny. I know. So, but
but hold on. You're a science teacher, but I heard that Chris told me that you were known for wearing a fur coat and boots all the time. Is that true?
I had a Jeep. It was a Jeep Renegade convertible, orange and gold. It was beautiful. I put shag carpet in, 2 big speakers in the back seat. And on the front, at this vocational school, some former students of mine made a scroll bumper saying "Pump and Iron" on it. And it was made of oak, and I had that. And I'd be riding around the city with a headband on, and and I ended up training the Philadelphia Flyers, and we had what do you call it? Their farm team was up here, okay. And what they did is they had the tryouts up here in the fall, and I ended up training those guys. And at the Winter Olympics, it's 81. They 80, 81. They had the cowboy hats and all that. So I went out and had the cowboy hat, and then I got this. Well, looked like an expensive fur coat. That when I was in the outlaw motorcycle gang, that was right there. Yeah, I used to drive that to school.
Oh my God! Holy mackerel! You must have been the cool teacher, huh?
Well,
you were a bodybuilder. You rode a bike in a motorcycle gang, and you were teaching. Come on, you had to be the favorite teacher.
I used to park that on the front lawn right there. But geez, where was I going with that? Anytime I run into kids, they're adults now. I'll say, did I have you for a student? If I see them in the gym or something like that, and the minute they hesitate, I'll say, I didn't have you.
They would remember that for sure. Yeah. Now, I heard Dan Duchesne trained at the gym up there too with you guys.
He did. I liked the time when in a magazine interview, he said he'd learned first about Diana Ball from me.
It's funny. Is that true?
Well, he said it was. I mean, because when back in goals back in the day,
right,
it was different. There were no. When I first went out there, I don't think there was any women at all. And then I remember Lyle Alzado bringing either his wife or a girlfriend or something in. back then. And Dan comes from Westbrook here in Maine. And so the gyms, I've always run a gym. So I'm sure he probably heard some of the gossip,
But was it true that the front desk at Gold's Venice had a bowl with Dianabol pills in it, and people would just grab them when they came in, or is that made up?
No, that's made up. It might have been before I got there, but I do. The first person, Ken Waller was running the gym at the time, and he put, and he would never let that go there. You know that. So,
yeah, he was a hard ass. Yeah.
I remember one time going up to the counter and a guy saying to me, what is it you want? And I said, well, I'm trying to get bigger, and he took out a doctor's bag.
Oh, no, really? The stuff wasn't illegal then. Yeah.
No. And there were all kinds of liver tablets. And
what were predominantly the drugs that the guys used back then? Was it mostly Dianabol and stuff like that?
Deca. Testosterone. What's it? Equipoise they got from Mexico.
Yeah.
Like that. It wasn't. I always, when I did it, I always had my blood checked and all that. I did that every 6 months or so, like that.
Even back then, okay.
Cool. Oh yeah. A friend of mine was a doctor, and not distributing that stuff. But I mean, he was, I would get it done. And that was one thing I was always, very careful of. I remember the first time I took Dianabol, I was tarring roads. You would put the spray, the bar down, and Jesus, I was horrible. I couldn't go straight. But anyway, when I found out about the Dianabol, I remember taking one tablet, a little blue tablet, sitting in the tire truck, and I think all lunch hour I looked at it before I ingested it, and then it was crazy back.
The first one's the hardest. That's it. Right?
But there was no growth hormone. Well, there was supposed to be from the Reese's Monkey or something like that.
Right, but that didn't really work. Yeah.
That was no. I think people were taking B shot and mixing with testosterone.
I heard the guys who were big speed junkies back then when they would diet. Is that true? Were they doing a lot of speed?
Well, amphetamines, diet pills were you could get them. At the time, and they had Black Beauties and things like that.
Were guys using that? Was that because most people don't really use that nowadays? But I mean, was that a big thing back then?
I can't speak for all the other guys. I have no idea if they if they did that or not. So.
Now, did you? Is it true that you drove a Porsche a lot too? Chris said you had a Porsche all the time. Every time he saw you, was you in a Porsche?
I was the poorest guy, school teacher, to have a Porsche. But
was that through the motorcycle gang? You got that? How'd you wind up with that thing?
No, this I got. I think it was in 1984. I purchased it, and I hated driving it because I was afraid something would go wrong with it, and it would cost me a fortune to get it fixed.
Right, that's right. Yeah, they're very expensive to repair.
I had my shoulder surgery, rotator cuff, and I tore 3 of the 4. And the Porsche was a stick shift with my right hand, and it was my left arm that the shoulder. So I said to the doctor, because sometimes they put a splint on your arm where it's stuck way out to the side, like that.
Yeah.
And I said, don't give me a splint. I said, I'm not going to be able to drive my Porsche. So when I woke up from the operation, he comes in, he looks at me and says, where are the keys to your Porsche? That picture there, you can see Gold's the windows out on Pacific Avenue. Yeah. Ed Connors took that.
That's a great picture.
Yeah.
Great picture. What did you weigh there?
Probably 185, 84, something like that.
How tall are you?
Well, now I'm about 5'8", 5'7".
Well, we all shrink. Yeah, I'm shrinking.
5'9". Yeah.
That's you always appeared bigger than you really were. You had you would have been perfect in the classic physique division nowadays. That would have been your division.
Frank Zane had the right idea. Don't try to get, I was always trying to get bigger, bigger, bigger,
Mhm.
And I was a power lifter, and I have squatted over 600 pounds.
Wow.
But yeah, but it was hard for me to get my legs cut.
Mhm.
That was from the upper body. I was more, symmetrical and stuff than I was in the lower body.
Didn't you guys though overtrain legs back then? Because I see the workouts Arnold would do bare feet. I think guys just didn't know how to train legs back then. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, we didn't. You really was trial and error.
Yeah.
So I always sometimes I train 7 days a week, and I
Oh
would
wow.
train an hour in the morning, and then go
Whew.
back and train an hour in the afternoon. Do body, a body
Yeah.
part with maybe some calves. So I used to go
Yeah.
calves, abs like that.
You probably overtrained like back then. Didn't
Oh,
even know it.
cool.
Yeah.
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 But I loved it. It
Right.
wasn't, going. It was a university gym at the time, which was nice. I can remember when I saw Lyle Zato's girlfriend training with him at the
Right.
university. We had a nice gym. No women were training. This was way
Wow.
back. So I went down to one end of. There was two entrances into the gym, and the ladies' locker room was right by the other entrance. So when they walked by, I'd say, "Come on in and try this," because they had an old Massey piece of junk equipment that they were using. And so they matriculated in. And some of the guys back then didn't want him in the gym. It was crazy,
Yeah. Well,
But
you go to the Middle East. There's no women allowed in the gym. It's crazy.
I
It's
saw
like the
that.
old days in the United States.
I wouldn't
So.
go to the gym. That was the case.
The gym business changed quite a bit. So what do you do these days? What is Skip Robinson up to on a regular basis? Are you still teaching actively?
Yeah, no. I always say graduate. I retired from teaching in 2006.
How old are you now?
78.
Oh wow, you look great, my friend.
Thank you. My daughter Amanda, she like I said, was a nurse practitioner, and I've had a lot of trouble with basal cell from the sun. Cancer, skin cancer.
Yeah.
Oh, so when she got her nurse practitioner's license, she says, "What should I do?" I said, "Go into dermatology."
Dermatology is
So she did, and then she said, "Dad, I need a side hustle." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do." I says, "I'll pay for you to go to Botox school and filler school." But I said,
just so you can get free Botox. Yeah.
I says, "You're going to take care of me if I ever need it." So she's doing that now. In a couple hours, she'll be coming in here. Anyway, she comes over every Wednesday. So, but anyway.
My father taught 35 years in the New York City school system. So he taught English. And so, and then he retired. And it's so funny because I would see people, we would go to places and people would say, "Mr. Palumbo," because he was their teacher or something. He actually taught Eric Estrada, the actor. And
is that right?
He actually told him to go into acting. He said he used to cut class all the time. He's like, "Look," he goes, "You're a good-looking guy. You better go into acting." He said, you're gonna become a victim of the system." And the guy listened to him. So it's funny how teachers can influence students.
My most famous one was Anna Kendrick. She's in movies. She's been with George Clooney in that one about the sky there, the pilot, whatever. I don't know, but she's done very, very well. So, and you don't know
her?
Well, yeah, she was in my 7th grade
wow.
class. Yeah,
that's great.
And
I mean, when you look back now, my father always said, "Don't go into teaching, whatever you do." He goes, "They don't get paid." He goes, and meanwhile, of course, I didn't think I was going into teaching, but I teach people every day, right? So it's just it's in the blood, so to speak. Yeah. But would you encourage? Are you what's your whole feeling about the education system in this country?
Geez, right now I don't. I mean, I heard that is it Mongolia is ahead of us in the education system. It's sad. I don't like the way it's going. I don't.
Yeah.
Which is too bad.
Yeah. What advice, if you had to give advice to young people out there in terms of who are going into bodybuilding or considering going into bodybuilding, what would be some wisdom that you had that you've garnished over your 78 years of life that maybe would help people?
Yeah. You know that when I owned a personal trainer business, and I ran it since 1985, 86. I did it conjunct with teaching school, and that's what I'm doing now. I work at Foley's Fitness Center up here. I don't run my business out of there. I just train people whomever whoever I want.
Do people know your history of like how well, all the celebrities and people that you've met over the years in the bodybuilding, or do they just know you as the guy who trains people at the gym?
I make sure they know. They call me the legend.
If you're the legend, then they know all about you. That's right.
So it's better to be a legend in Maine than not be a legend anywhere,
That's right.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And because everyone's got the internet now, and so yeah, they know my background. It's pretty cool when you go up to young people, that either like in high school or in college, or they treat me with respect, and they do listen to what I say.
That's awesome.
Which is, I think it's pretty
smart. Give us some words of wisdom that for young people coming up in bodybuilding or who want to maybe make a career out of it. What's your best advice?
Don't give up your day job. But anyway, it's crazy. Like I'm helping promote the NPC Maine championships, April 21st in Biddeford High School. That's awesome. We've got Michael Hearn's going to guest pose.
Awesome.
And the lady that just won the Olympia figure is going to be there. I've forgotten her name.
Sydney Gillen.
Is that who it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I encourage, if I see someone in the gym that looks like they can compete, I always will ask them if they want to do that or, whatever. But, me and, you went through the same thing. When you want to be the best at something, it can be kind of selfish, and you have to spend a lot of time and effort, doing it. Do I regret it? No way. And I loved it. I did well, like you do,
Yeah. What was your most memorable thing that you did? Like if you had to say, this was the highlight, of my career.
You're not going to believe this, but getting the Maine Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome. Who picks that?
There's a committee that that does it, and they go by your background. I was a school teacher, so that was my community service. I did win my high class to Mr. World, and I did a lot of powerlifting and some bodybuilding wins. So that got me into it. And I'll tell you, Dave, when I graduated from high school, I weighed, you hear people say they were slender, they were skinny, and they were all that. I didn't touch a weight. And if somebody come up to me and told me that I was going to be on RXMuscle with Dave Palumbo, or any, back then I would have said I could be in the Philharmonic Orchestra, because I didn't. I was very, very thin.
What did you weigh?
I had good abs.
What did you weigh back then?
137. I went in the Marines, and I bulked up to about 140 something. Yeah. And then, it was, I still I wasn't weightlifting at that time. And then I joined a notorious skydiving club.
Oh my God.
I used to teach that. And I'll tell you, when you're teaching back in the 60s, the freaking parachutes.
You did everything, man.
Dave, I had 4 malfunctions. The parachute didn't open. Yeah. And I'm lucky to be here. I mean,
what happened? Did you use the backup chute?
Yeah. They what you do back then, it used to be right in the front. Mm-hmm. And you'd have quick releases, you'd squeeze them, and then the main canopy would sing, and you'd go right head down, and you'd be looking up at your feet. and
Oh
then
my
you
God.
you pull the ripcord and then grab the chute and throw it out like that. And you
Right.
got to do it real quick. And one of the times I didn't realize how fast I was falling with that parachute that didn't completely come out
Right.
open. And when other people open and you go flying by them, you say, and they're yelling, cut away,
Oh
So
no. So what do you do? So what do? You cut the chute off?
no, that quick release, the harness,
Oh.
it just rises and it just leads.
And then you have another chute that you can release after that?
It's right on the front. And
Oh.
these were from the Korean War. So you're saying, no one's checking these to see the pack.
Right. You don't know if the backup chute is going to work, right?
You expect to see moss and all kinds of stuff come flying out.
Rick Collins tried to get me to go parachuting with him. I said, skydiving. I said, you're out of your fucking mind. I said, if I ever died that way, I would be like, what an idiot I am. What a dummy. I was doing fine, and I had to go fucking push my luck,
My last jump was when I was 63, 64.
Oh, wow.
My wife was 50. And I said, I got a surprise birthday for you. So we went out to the local skydiving thing, and it was a tandem. And she had a tandem person. And I said, I'll go tandem too. So they do a video of it. And the guy comes up and he's in front of me and he goes, have you ever jumped before? And I go, yes. And he says, how many times? I says, 126. He says, what are you doing tandem? And I said, just, for that. And then he asked all the other jumpers, do you want to do a somersault when you leave the plane? He didn't ask me. He knew we were going to do a somersault.
Oh, shit. I would have fucking crapped my pants if he did that.
Dave, there's no, you don't feel like you're falling. Like in an elevator, you go, whoom, like that. There's no feeling. It's just like you're suspended in midair.
Your stomach doesn't drop out. Your throat doesn't go into your stomach. No.
No, but when you look down, you see that ground coming up real fast.
I have it for some reason. I have this fear of heights that is not of heights, of falling. It's in my soul. I don't know why. My grandfather fell from the building. I don't know if I have it like imprinted on me or something like that. But the idea, just thinking about falling out of the plane, I'm terrified when I think about that. And it's not something that I want to overcome. How people say, I want to challenge my fear, and I have no desire to do it whatsoever.
I love it.
Yeah, I look. I know a lot of people who do it all the time. It's like an addiction almost. They say.
One of the things I want to I train a lot of people. Right now I get to pick and choose who I want to want to train. It's probably kind of selfish, but I only want to work in the morning, which I do. But I keep up. I'm qualified to train kids all the way through professional athletes, and I have a degree in nutrition besides. But when I train these people, a lot of the stuff is like we used to do back in the days, and I love using the terminology. From back then, the barn door lats and and all that. And but I remember Arnold also back in the day when we were training out there, a lot of supersets and stuff like that. Right. And where I only train a person for an hour, I do a lot of supersetting and stuff. And I trained a client of yours the other day, and I don't know if you're going to, the one that texts you, Stanley.
Oh, okay. He's the one who told me to interview you.
He's a medical student.
Yep.
Good kid. He speaks highly of you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we worked, we did chest.
Yeah, it's funny. He mentioned you, but Chris always talks about you. So then when I'm thinking, I'm like, if you're in contact with him, tell him to contact me. Yeah, I'd love to do the interview. And then, of course, I went right to Chris and said, Chris, I'm interviewing Skip Robinson. He's like, how did you get in touch with him? I said, I got my connections too. I said, give me some notes. I said, what should I ask him? And that's when he gave me the whole thing.
What was fun, I said to Stan when he was in the gym, he had walked by and he had a Mr. Olympia jacket on.
Yeah.
And I had just finished my client, and I walked up behind him and I said, "I want that jacket." And he turned and I said, "Where'd you get it?" And he said he was at the
Olympia. Yeah.
But I had mentioned you had guest posed at the Mr. New England contest in Boston one time. You
Yeah.
did. Yeah. And it was before Jay took it over.
Okay. It was when Jimmy Dakotas used to run it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I entered that. I think I had to enter that to qualify to enter the Masters America in whatever. So,
yeah.
I did, and you guessed, but you were huge.
Yeah. I guest posed there the first time in '96, and Dorian, that's during his reign. And Dorian was guest posing there. And we both had been in Pittsburgh the day before, and they flew us, Jimmy flew us right in, and I guest posed there. And it was funny because I was kind of in contest shape. Dorian was off season, and he was big, and I guest posed. And it's funny because the newspaper wrote a story about the show, and they actually featured me. And Dorian was like in this little inset, and it was like that was like my Olympia win right there. I'm like, because Dorian was my idol, basically, coming up at the time. So it was awesome. Hey, Skip, thanks so much for talking to me today. And I know my audience is going to love this interview. It's great to hear about the old times and your relationship with Chris and all that stuff. And it's interesting. I'm going to tell Chris that I think he should start selling ice cream, get his kids to start selling ice cream cones again, because I think that's a very lucrative business, especially in Maine in the summer.
Chris is doing quite well.
Yes, he's awesome. He's a very, very dear friend of mine.
Good friend. All right, David.
You still ride a bike? You still ride the motorcycles?
I had two, and I kept the Fat Boy. I still have that.
What about Porsche? Any more Porsches or no?
No, I'm driving I just ordered a special, and I got this past year, a Ford Mustang Mark I in special edition. It's whatever you could have for extras on it, I put on it.
I love that you still like fast cars, man. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And fast women. No, that's not true. I got the most beautiful wife going, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's awesome. If people want to contact you, what, Instagram easiest?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Not TikTok, but the other.
It's Skip_Robinson. If you guys are going to contact him on Instagram, and he's got some great pictures up there and some great knowledge. Yeah. Thanks again, Skip. And this is going to take us to the end of another episode of RX Muscle Spotlight. I'm Dave Palumbo with Skip Robinson.
Thanks a lot, David. I appreciate it.